Hey guys, Coach Adam with another bikini review and recap over the last couple of weeks. We have a lot going on. The Olympia qualifiers are almost done and people are stamping their cards. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And let's do a little bit of a recap here with starting off with Tamikia Carter. Tamikia Carter was someone we went over just a couple weeks ago saying, hey, she's right on the edge of getting her Olympia qualifications. We went over her physique and she did just that. She got her Olympia qualifications at the Nashville Fit Show, looking exactly as she needed to. Now, I talked about it a little bit earlier. When I first saw her earlier this year, her conditioning was just a little too much. It was a little too hard. You were seeing a little bit too much grain in the muscle. And as she started competing more and more, we started seeing her fill out her frame a little bit more, bringing in the right conditioning package. And I do think that she nailed it for Nashville. And I think this is the package she needs to bring to the Olympia. You know, when it comes to the Olympia, things do change a little bit. You're running into the top physiques in the world. You're running into fuller athletes that have, some of them have softer lines, but the fullness is always a factor at the Olympia. With Tamikia, she doesn't have the size to be, you know, next to a Laura Lee, a Jennifer. She doesn't have that full roundness. So I do think she needs to err on the side of being a little bit more conditioned, but this is a perfect balance of that conditioning. And I think in the next couple years, you'll see her really climb the ranks. She's got beautiful lines, great structure. Everything's there. The conditioning is now being nailed on a consistent basis. The last couple shows have been nailed now. And I think this is a great look for her. So I think that it's going to be the top 10 at the Olympia this year. There's going to be a big change in the top 10 because there's a lot of athletes that are not in the Olympia that were in the top 10 last year. So it's going to be a whole different ball game when it comes to the Olympia this year. And going into that too, in the Olympia, we had some crazy things happen over the weekend. So Ashley Kaltwasser won the Tokyo Pro in Japan. Now everyone's like, oh, there wasn't that much coverage. It was a different time. But this show was surprisingly deep. I didn't expect it to be this deep, that's for sure. It was way bigger of a challenge than I was expecting it to be. I thought, hey, it's an international show. You might run into one Olympia champion, maybe it'll be, or not Olympia champ, one Olympian, that type of thing. In this show, there was 6 Olympians. 6 Olympians is crazy. 6 Olympians in that show, and man, what a wild show. I think that was the most Olympians in any show the last few weeks, at least 6. Maybe it's the most outside of like a tier 1 show, like a Pittsburgh Pro, New York Pro, Arnold, that type of thing. It might be the case. I mean, it was bigger. This show obviously bigger than even the Arnold UK. It might have even been bigger than the Arnold Ohio in terms of how many Olympians were in it. Maybe I'm wrong on that. So, but definitely the Arnold UK. So anyway, going into the show, it was, you just never know what you're going to get. Some shows that might look like smaller shows end up being like heavy hitter shows. But crazy level of competition. My client Yume, who's been doing really great overseas, in the U.S. and overseas this year, got 4th place, beating out 2 Olympians, which is awesome. So she's climbing the ranks. We're seeing her climb the ranks in quite a bit. The only thing they're asking about Yume is they're saying she needs more density in her glutes to be competitive at that higher level. But from the front, they're saying don't change anything. So it's going really good for her. Now let's go ahead and go into Ashley at the Tokyo Pro. And I will say this, in my opinion, now I'm a little biased. It's hard to do these with Ashley, especially because she competes all the time. So I'm always doing this with Ashley, and I'm also her coach. So I try not to be biased. And, if I say anything, I just try to be as real as possible. And, sometimes Ashley will not even watch the videos because she's like, I don't know what you're going to say. Like when it goes to those like reviews of like the top, who I think the top 10 is going to be, she's like, I'm not going to watch till after the Olympia. so I always want to be unbiased to keep this credible. I will say this is my favorite Ashley look I've seen. Now, there's the argument that she could be a tiny bit tighter, but the thing is, going into the Olympia, when we look at the top girls, we look at, Maureen, Jennifer, Laura Lee, we look at these girls, they are not crazy sharp. Those ones in particular. There's some other girls that are top girls that are going to be a little sharper. You look at Issa, she's super sharp, So there's, different scenarios, but this look, I think, is the best balanced look for Ashley competing at that level of show. You're seeing really full glutes, and you're still seeing the tie-ins. It's not like she's soft where the tie-ins are disappearing. But look at the density of the glutes. The density of the glutes is crazy hard. Glutes from the profile, I mean, it's definitely one of the best glute profiles in the business right now. The balance from upper to lower body is there. The waistline is still super small. The ratios of the hourglass shape, the wide shoulders, the hourglass shape of the hips. I mean, this is a really good package. And now we're talking 6 weeks out from the Olympia. There's not a whole lot to change here. So I think that this is a great look for Ashley for the Olympia. What do you guys think in the comments? Do you like the fuller look Ashley brought to Tokyo, or do you like the more athletic, leaner Ashley that has been in some of these shows, winning some of these shows? So now the cool thing about this win for Ashley is this is win number 49. I know, I didn't stutter, I didn't mess that up, I got it right. Win number 49, breaking the all-time record, which was set by her, of win number 48. So she's in a league of her own in terms of the records. The closest person I know of is at 29 when it comes to closest in IFBB Pro wins. So she is on the path to be the first to 50. No one is close to that record. I don't know if anyone ever will be after that, but she is trying to get to 50. And how crazy would it be if Ashley brings this shape, goes to the Olympia, and the 50th win is that the 60th Olympia? That would be so crazy. I mean, I can't even imagine that. That would be just such a double party, right? So is this look enough to win the Olympia? I don't know. I think it's close. I think it could be. You got to remember, just a couple years ago, it was just 2 points away that separated. It was 1 point separating second and 1 point from that separating third, and that was Ashley. Ashley's been third 3 years in a row. She's definitely in the argument. This look is an improved look. It's more dense. It's more full. Is it enough to pass Maureen and Jennifer and to hold everyone off under her to pass her at this Olympia? I don't know. Not in my hands, but what I can say is she's improved. She's done what she's needed to do. She's improved, and she's done exactly what they've asked. So we will see what happens at the Olympia, but I think it is definitely entirely likely. She is definitely in that conversation for sure. So going into the Olympia, let's take a look at this Olympia list now. Olympia list is getting full. Now, the Olympia list this morning didn't have Adair on there, but Adair did get to the Olympia over the weekend. We'll go over that in a minute. But here's the Olympia list, and there's a couple people that aren't on the Olympia list still. Here's the list of people who still need to qualify. The ones in red I know are not competing anymore. But again, one of the people that were on at the Tokyo was Jibin Park. Jibin Park, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, Jibin Park, I think, was at the show. She got a 5th place, which is crazy because she's historically, usually is if you look back at her history, she's only done a couple shows in the last few years, and she's pretty much won all of them. So I think it's for like 3 years straight. She just did like 1 or 2 shows and won all of them. So real competition there. Her going even behind Yume just shows the level of competition is no joke this year. It is hard to get to the Olympia in the bikini division. It is difficult. So looking at what's left for the Olympia. So we have here not too many shows to go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have six shows to go before the Olympia cutoff. And this show here is a Masters show, Masters Pro show, which will now qualify you for the Masters Olympia, which is really cool. I'm going to go into that too. But we have 6 shows to go. And in those 6 shows, look at all these athletes that were in the Olympia last year. All of these athletes were in the Olympia last year that are not in the Olympia this year. So earlier this year, I said, I bet you more than 50% of this list won't get on to the Olympia, and that is exactly what's happening. It's actually less than that because we have some people who've already qualified for the Olympia winning, and we have people that are like kind of double winning. So it is difficult to get to the Olympia. Unfortunately, a lot of these names you're just not going to see on there, but there's one name I did mention last show, and I wanted to go into that because this is going to be a crazy weekend for Miss Ellie Fernandez. So Ellie is actually competing in 2 shows this weekend. I think just the way that the shows lined up, she's able to jump on a plane. I think it's competing the next day or the day after. Now, Ellie is doing the Texas show and also doing the Mexico show. So I do expect to see her win one of these shows. She's on 2 shows this weekend. So I do expect to see her win one of these shows if she's bringing her traditional Ellie package, right, which is a full, round, dense physique, but comes in really, really tight. That's the only thing about Ellie. She brings a crazy tight level of conditioning and a crazy dense physique. Now, the thing about Ellie, I wouldn't say that her muscle is in that area of pretty muscle. We talk about pretty muscle where it's round and glowing. Maureen's a great example of pretty muscle. But it is like right in the middle of dense and really pretty round muscle. So it's like right in that middle, more athletic look, comes in super shredded. So is that look going to be awarded this year, or is it going to be too much? That's going to be the question, because that look of being really hard, really shredded is something that is not really common these days. Now, they do like it on some athletes to look that way that do well. You can look at Issa, for example. She pushes the level of conditioning. They do like her really tight. That's just a thing. Some athletes, they like tighter. Ashley, they like a little tighter, but lately they've liked her just a little fuller, right? So she's kind of edged up with her conditioning levels being just a little bit softer, but a little bit fuller, they've kind of liked. So how do they like Ellie this year? She kind of only has one weekend to try it. You can't really do a show and then a day later be a totally different look. I mean, you can push it a little bit, but it's probably going to be on your waistline. So she kind of has to nail it twice. If she had 3 days in between the shows, 4 days in between the two shows, it'd be a little different because it wouldn't really sit on the waistline. But if you're loading heavy food a day after a show, you're probably going to be making your waistline pay for it a little bit. So the main thing with her is if she brings this overall shape and brings, I think, a little bit more fullness where you're not getting this hamstring separation, you're not getting this quad separation here and all this detail, I think that it erring on the side of just being just a little bit fuller will benefit her in today's bikini market. Now, going into the weekend, we have some weekend wins. I wanted to go into these as well, go over the people who did qualify. Remember, I talked about Jourdanne, too. I was like, what is up with Jourdanne? What is she going to be doing? She's a top 10 Olympian. I was like, where have we seen her this year? I bet we're going to see her, and she's going to qualify. She came out of nowhere. She jumped into this show. Why don't she jump into this show? She came out of nowhere, and she won this show. This contest is actually... it's close in some ways and far in others. So this is a comparison, Jourdanne versus Ashley, and looking at them, when you look at these physiques, they're definitely very different physiques, and it kind of is, it's hard to pick from because there's going to be different opinions on both. Jourdanne, I think, has really good structure. When you look at her shoulders, her lats, her tiny waistline, I think that she wins there when you look at the upper body. Ashley, and this is the thing, Ashley's not a, bulky girl, a thicker girl in the waist or anything like that. But this is an example of when you get these really, really good structures, these really good V-tapers and these small waistlines and that hourglass shape, and it's like a little bit of extreme, because this is a little bit of an extreme structure. I mean, it's a crazy structure, and you put it next to a structure that would fall into the lines of, I guess you'd say, more regular. You can make someone look thicker that's not thicker. She doesn't have a thick core at all. She's got a small core. But Jourdanne makes her look thicker. If you got a 30-inch waist, which is small, and someone's next to you with a 28-inch waist, then guess what? You're going to look like you got a bigger waist, and that's what's happening here. More likely, Jourdanne's waist is like 22, 21 inches, and Ashley's is probably 23 inches, something like that. But you could see the difference mainly in the waistline here. So that's where in bikini, things will change a lot. Yes, Ashley does have a fuller physique. She has better hamstrings, rounder hamstrings from the front. The argument from the glutes, I actually would give to Jourdanne. I think Jourdanne has a better glute profile from the front, but she definitely loses the hamstring battle from the front. For the quads, I think that Jourdanne loses the quad battle from the front too, but she has more bikini quads. So more muscle isn't always better. I think that Ashley pushes the density and the quads just a little bit, but it does balance her physique out well because she doesn't have the smallest frame of Jourdanne. So I think the judges did a good job here. I don't see it being too tough of a competition. From the back, there's arguments for both. I do think Ashley's tie-in looks a little bit better based on what they've been picking this year. You could see Jourdanne's tie-in, but you don't have that edging of the tie-in down low. It kind of connects all the way through the hamstring here. You're not seeing that full tie-in like you are on Ashley. So I do think Ashley has a better tie-in. But when you look at the waistline and you look at the shoulder to waist ratio to hip ratio, Jourdanne wins. Ashley actually has a better upper outer edge of her glute than Jourdanne as well. But the total package, Jourdanne wins. It's pretty pretty obvious one to me. I would go with Jourdanne on this one too. And I think also Ashley poses a little hard in her back pose. She's got a little bit of a bend to her knee, and her legs are just a little bit wider than I think that they should be. She brought her feet in just a little bit. I think it would help her physique, because you want to look still bikini fitness physique. You don't want to look kind of pushing the limits of bikini bodybuilder physique. With her being so muscular, she does push it a little bit, especially when she's posing that hard and that wide with the bend to her knee. I think that it doesn't help her at all. It actually makes her look a little less balanced from upper to lower body too. So I would switch that with her. But all in all, really great physique. I could definitely see her winning one of these next few shows if she keeps it going. Now, we had another one over the weekend. Adair locked up her Olympia qualification. She's been close a couple times, so she locked it up now. This one is a little farther away in terms of it, than the last battle of Ashley and Jourdanne. This one was kind of a, Adair was clearly the winner, as I guess I would say here. From the front, there's an argument for either of them, but again, look at the hamstring roundness. That roundness of the hamstring versus Lisa, she just doesn't have that hamstring roundness. She doesn't have the density yet. She has really good muscle flow, really good roundness to her physique, but the density is lacking. That overall just that hardness to the muscle just isn't really there. It is a little bit in the shoulders. It's a tiny bit in that front of the quad, but when we get to the back pose, you can really see the difference. There's just a level of softness to this glutes that Adair doesn't have. Adair has hard, dense glutes. She has that fullness that she needs. She still needs some improvements. I think that it's going to take her another year, maybe two, to really do damage at the Olympia. You could see here the hamstrings aren't full yet. They don't have the roundness to the hamstrings. They're very straight up and down hamstring, like on the leg, they're very straight up and down. And because they're not developed, you're seeing a lot of separation. When someone has not a lot of development, the muscle fibers are, they're not close together. They're not like, how do I do that? I'm trying to do this on the camera here big. So they're not, when they're not super developed, let's do this. You have the muscle fibers of the hamstring, and if they're not developed and they're kind of like this, there's a lot of gap in between versus a full hamstring. If you have a full hamstring that's really developed, you have all this muscle in there that's like that. Well, you're not going to see this separation line of those hamstrings when it's like that. You're not going to see that vertical separation all the way up. You see how Lisa here actually has like roundness to her hamstrings, that there's no separation. She actually has a little bit better development to her hamstrings. They're smaller, but the development of the muscle itself is a little better, or the actual muscle belly is just a better muscle belly. So either one, you're going to have to fix that either way. At that upper level, when you get to the Olympia, she's going to have to fix that, get a little bit more roundness to her hamstring to fill out this physique, get a little bit more roundness to that upper outer edge of the glute. The upper body needs nothing else at this point. The upper body is definitely where it needs to be. So yeah, all in all, great physique. Congratulations to Adair. Now, one thing I wanted to go into as well was the Masters Olympia. So guys, the Masters Olympia is happening. It's awesome. They're doing the Masters Olympia. It's something that was around before, and it's kind of been, it just came back last year in Romania. I had one of my athletes in it. She got 5th place, which is awesome. She's 5th in the world as a Masters, Alessandra. And also, she's qualified for it again. So if you've won a show, if you're a Masters competitor, and you've won a show from August of 2023 to August of 2025, August 28th of 2023 to August of 2025, you are qualified for this year's Masters Olympia, because we didn't have a Masters Olympia this year. So I don't know if it's going to be now every year, but if you've won a show, you're in. So I have another athlete that's in as well. So that's really awesome to know. And they're getting this thing going. So now the Masters now have something to shoot for. There's a lot of excitement on the Masters. And I think this is something that's absolutely necessary for the Masters. A lot of times over the years, we've been getting, pro cards for Masters. I have quite a few Masters athletes on the team that are NPC level and few, we just got IFBB level. I think we got 6 Masters pro cards at the this year. I think 6 or 7 Masters pro cards this year. So, originally we kind of had nothing we couldn't really do anything with them. It was like, okay, there's, 3 shows, 5 shows a year for the Masters, and that's kind of it. Have fun, let's do it. Let's hopefully, something to challenge you, but there's no Olympia. There's no grand finale show, type of thing. But now it's the same thing as the Open Olympia. So there's just so much excitement behind it. So many Masters competitors are excited about getting there, and hey, maybe I can still get to the Olympia stage, maybe they're 50 years old and they're not going to be able to get to the Olympia Open Masters division, but they can get to the Olympia Masters division. Did I say that right? So it gives them some excitement. We got to understand we have a lot of Masters competitors. Sandy did a stat at one point, and she said, I believe she said it was like 36%. It was something along those lines. It was like a huge percentage of people that are currently pros are Masters. So they needed to get some love taken care of, and now we have this awesome show. It's going to be in Tokyo. If you guys have ever been to Tokyo, it is awesome. It's my favorite place I've ever been. It is so cool. It is so cool, and it is just an awesome place. So Tokyo, Masters Japan. I'm going to try to have a couple more qualified by the end of next year. We'll see if we can do it. I had Dana this weekend. Dana Onaga got third place in her first Masters Pro show, so she's going to be going after it as well. So this is an exciting time. I got a lot of texts from my Masters athletes over the weekend. Everything's it feels new. It feels really great. So thank you guys so much for doing that on the brass at the IFEB. Tim Gardner as well, putting that up. He puts great shows, and I think he's behind this too. So really excited. But now it's like this, guys. You win and you're in. You can apply in these other divisions. You can see here the rules. You could apply in the other divisions. But now win and you're in, just like the Olympia for bikini. So you're going to have to win some shows. Anything 40-plus divisions for those master shows will get you to the Olympia. So with that, guys, hopefully, this got some excitement behind you for the Masters. Let me know your questions and comments in the comment section. I'll get back to them. And thank you guys so much for watching. As always, TeamElitePhysique.com for worldwide online coaching with me, and I will talk to you later.